We're live. Let's go. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this NFL DFS 2021 Week 9 preview live stream. That's right, live stream, not podcast. I quite frankly have zero idea if you all heard me earlier. What's happening, everybody? Say hi in the chat. Let us know if you can hear us okay. And if you can hear us okay, great. Tell us you can hear us okay in the chat. In the meantime, we're welcoming our guest host here, Jeremy Goecke. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited for tonight. This is going to be fun.
Did you finally get your kitchen sink set and put in? That's what the audience wants to know.
So the sink is set. It is drying. It is curing. And I have been drinking multiple beers waiting for it to cure so I can do the rest tomorrow.
Sounded like the kitchen sink was that much of a pain in the rear end.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right, well, here's what we are going to do, Jeremy. We are going to do this a little bit differently. We are here on a live stream. And again, ladies and gentlemen, pop in chat, say hello, and let us know if you can hear us okay. We're going to go off the assumption you can hear us, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so...
Excuse me, my end here sounds pretty good.
So the sink is set, and I have been drinking multiple beers waiting.
Let us know if you can hear us, ladies and gentlemen, but it sounds good on my end. Sounded like the kitchen sink was that much. Yeah, so it sounds good on my end. Sorry, I had to do a quick sound check. But Jeremy, let's get this started off here as we have people trickling. Let's get into what's one of the games you would target this week, because I got to tell you, if we look at some of these totals this week, and you and I were chit-chatting, pre-show, we're looking at some of these totals here. It's like we see Denver, Dallas, 49.5, Kansas City's on the slate. They're only at a 48 because no Aaron Rodgers. And then you get the Chargers and Philly. You get Buffalo, Jacksonville. Like, we have a lot of these, like, 47s, 48s, 49s. There's nothing here that's standing out from a we have to play it standpoint. So let's get into a game that you want to talk about here real quick, Jeremy. What's one of the games you want to target this week?
Yeah, you hit it there. It's a weird week. You're looking at some of these games and wondering, what am I going to stack? How's this going to go? You've got obvious, right? Like you said, Packers Chiefs, fantastic. Well, then Aaron Rodgers is out, so no, not so fantastic. So, of course, I'll take some bits and pieces from these games. If I wanted to go and stack a game, I'm going to actually focus on, this is going to sound funny, I'm just going to say it right off the bat.
Say it. Do it.
I'm going to go Texans-Dolphins.
Oh, buddy. I was hoping, we were talking pre-show, you know what we're talking about, I was hoping we get into this game. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Houston at Miami. It's a 46.5 over-under. Miami favored by 5.5. We do have some injury news in this game to talk about. And as always, here on the podcast here / live stream, we're going to go position by position. And if we take a look at Houston, Miami, Tua, $5,800. Tyrod Taylor, the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans this week, coming back from IR. He has been declared the starter for this game. He was activated off injured reserve on Saturday. So he is going to be the starter this week. Tyrod the starter. Hey, Davis Mills, congratulations. You had some NFL starts. You got some experience. Not too bad. 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 80.2 rating. 1,357 yards. You had a good job. Still a rookie. Still have much to learn. But, he was capable. But the big injury news here in this game is Tua. He's listed on the injury report with fingers/ribs. Questionable for this game. They're expecting him, the team's expecting him to play through it. Yikes. I think he's going to play through it. I think he's actually going to do well. And at 5,800, I think Tua has a massive chance to blow up this slate. Jeremy, what say you?
I'm on both of these quarterbacks.
Tyrod, 5,000. He's only $5,000 this week.
Exactly. So I'm sure there are some people out there looking at the Jordan Love Green Bay thing, right?
Trap!
So much.
Did I say that out loud? Trap game? What? We'll get there. We'll get there.
So for 5,000, you can get Tyrod, who, at least at the beginning of the season, and I know it was a very, very small sample size, but he did have 33 passes in the first game, which was his full game, right? For nearly 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then came out against Cleveland and was looking good until he got hurt. So he had, 10 for 11 for almost 100 yards and a touchdown before he got hurt. So, I'm looking at some possibility with Tyrod. He's going to get you some legs as well. And then Tua, if he's healthy, again, just 800 more on DraftKings. Look, these defenses are terrible, and I get it. The offenses are terrible, but the defenses are even worse than the offenses. So I'm actually, both of these quarterbacks are in my player pool, and I don't do very much MMEs. I do a lot of single to 3 entries. Both these quarterbacks are still on my player list for single to 3 entries.
They should be, and I think one thing, I want to step back into a couple housekeeping items. First, at the bottom of this description for this live stream, you're going to find the link to the Main Event DFS Discord. Please join. Free Discord. Awesome community. We'd love to see you there. You can follow Jeremy on Twitter at CakeBobbyOcean, and you can follow me on Twitter at AdamWX21, and you can follow Main Event DFS on Twitter at Main Event DFS, MANE. One other thing we have to, set and clear up here, Jeremy, is we are a live stream, not just a podcast this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please drop them in the YouTube chat, drop them in the Main Event DFS Discord. We're gonna do our best to answer every single one of your questions. Now, when we talk about GPPs this week, Jeremy, we were talking pre-show. And this is a very weird week because there's not one game that's a massive standout, right? There's not a 52, 53, 54, 55 game on the board. Nothing just stands out and screams, I need to stack this game, or I need to stack players from this team. You made a really good point that I want you to tell the people that we're going to preface all of our discussions on today as a very interesting strategy specifically for this slate. So you made mention of maybe targeting game stacks this week in addition to team stacks. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know this is obviously nothing new, right? We all try and correlate plays. If you're taking a running back from one game, it's a receiver from another, and you pair your quarterback with a receiver, and we all know this. We're not going to go over DFS 101, but in a week like this, you look across the board, and I know a lot of people, especially in MMEs and big tournaments, a lot of it people look to game stack, right?
Yep.
Well, this is a week where I think the field might not be looking to game stack. Because it's so hard. You don't have that game. Like last week, what was it? Tennessee, Indianapolis, right? And I actually made some really good money off of that game. That was a pretty obvious game stack. This week, it was Green Bay, Kansas City.
Yep.
And that fell apart.
That went out the window.
Exactly. So I think what you're going to get this week from the field is a lot of people picking a team to stack, and it could be anywhere from Buffalo to one of Houston, Miami, one of Denver, Dallas, one of Minnesota, Baltimore. They're not going to stack the game. Cincinnati, Cleveland. They're going to pick one side or the other, and maybe a bring back, maybe one bring back. But what you're going to find is, especially if you're fast entering, if you can pick a couple of games and stack those games where we're talking 4 to 5 players from that game, That's what's going to probably set you off from everybody else this week.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting way to attack tournaments, you know. Look, it's a 12-game slate. Is it 12 games, or they still have that weird free agent thing? Okay, it's an 11-game slate. I still have no idea there's a random free agent game over here. So it's an 11-game slate, but again, like, I can see Buffalo, Jacksonville blowing up. I can see Houston, Miami blowing up. I can't see Atlanta, New Orleans, but like Denver, Dallas could blow up or could go under. We'll talk about Minnesota, Baltimore, because you and I have some interesting thoughts on that. You and I high on Las Vegas and the New York Giants. That's the next game we're going to talk about. You know, Arizona, San Francisco. Major injury reports in this game and people coming back off IR. I think a really interesting way for us to get different this week is to approach from a game stack perspective. In addition to, you absolutely need to have your team stacks 100%. So, in addition to your team stacks, get some game stacks. Don't be afraid to be different this week, is basically what I'm trying to say. Now, with that being said, let's just preface that by saying we can move on here to the to Tyrod, and at $5,000, Jeremy, I really like Tyrod Taylor this week. You know, he might be $1,000 too cheap.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, obviously you would think he's fully healthy coming back, right? And if he is, you know, be careful. He's absolutely at 5,000. First week he scored 23, almost 24 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
In week 2, going out with injury, I think it was before halftime, at 16 and a half. So, and nothing else on the team has changed. It's not like they traded for, traded away DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, wait, they did do that. It was just a year prior. But he's coming back to the same team, and he's facing a terrible defense. He's ready to prove himself that he can be the starting quarterback.
He looked good. He looked good in that first game and a half. It's not like Tyrod looked bad. He looked good.
Oh, and here's the thing. What are you going to pay up for? Are you going to pay up for Mahomes?
Let's check it out. I mean, let's play a little game.
Absolutely.
Josh Allen. Okay, I'll pay up for Josh Allen.
Oh, yes. That is one I will pay up for because I would talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Kyler Murray. 7,900. May not even play this week.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes against Green Bay. 7,800. Trap. We'll get into it. Aaron Rodgers. Out. Lamar Jackson at Minnesota. Maybe. I can see it. Justin Herbert at Philly. I can see it, but okay, so that takes out 3 of the other over $7,000 players. And when we figure out lineup construction, how much of Jackson and Herbert are we actually going to get in? If you're playing Josh Allen, does that mean you don't get to play Diggs? Diggs is what, 7,700? Let's take a look real quick. Sanders 56, Beasley questionable 54. He's listed with ribs. With a rib injury, there are you make a really good point. Tyrod at 5,000, I can get an Adams, a Hill, a Diggs. Where's Tyrod?
Well, let's ask this. It's Tyrod has proven that he could probably pretty easily go 4x, right?
Easy.
And that's at least what we're looking for. No matter what you're doing, if you're in 1 to 3 entries or if you're in mass entries, you're looking for at least 4x. So he can go there at a 5,000 price tag. Do you really want to pay up and see if Patrick Mahomes can go and hit you what? 30? And what is that? That kills the rest of your lineup. So
if you're paying up, they have to hit. Buffalo? Okay. I mean, let's face it. Buffalo, Josh Allen, pretty good likelihood he's going to smash. Just because it's, you still get Singletary and Zach Moss, right? Pretty good chance that Allen's going to get there. Is Jackson going to get there? Is Herbert going to get there? Or is it an Eckler game? Oh boy. Someone needs to get the pie out of the oven. But so we just we get back to this game. just playing with lineups here, like Tyrod opens up a lot. And, we talk about the running backs in this game. So, like, I like Tua, I like Taylor. You like Tua and Taylor in this game. I think you and I are on the same page there. Let's get to the running backs in this game. Myles Gaskin, 5,800. David Johnson, 4,400. I'm not interested in anybody else. I'm going to have slight interest in Gaskin, but not really. I have almost no interest in David Johnson. What say you?
I like Myles Gaskin, and it's a risk. Not gonna lie, but he's basically taking the workload here, and to me, either way you see this game going, Gaskin is a factor. If Miami happens to get ahead and are going to run, Gaskin's going to run. If they happen to get behind and they go to passing, he's going to catch passes. And yes, he hasn't gotten a ton of goal line work this year, but he has in the past. I like Gaskin. He's going to be in my plays for stacks in this game. Again, I'm trying to differentiate from the field. And I feel like a lot of guys are going to go to the top of the house for running backs because, let's face it, the top of the house running backs are, a lot of them are in good spots. They really are. And pretty decent spots anyways. So guys are going to go out and they're going to pay up for that. I really don't mind Gaskin this week, and I may pay for that, but I like this game, and I like a lot of pieces from it. So we'll see. Next week, I will either be paying up or counting my money.
Yeah, you make interesting points here about Gaskin. I think Gaskin's probably going to end up in my player pool. Any interest in David Johnson?
Nope.
Agreed. Let's move on to our receiver. All right, let's talk about it. Brandon Cooks, $6,100. Brandon Cooks finally getting a decent price increase to somewhat more of a respectable and we got to think about it type of deal. I mean, we have the salary if you play him with Tyrod, but that's an expensive run back. Now, do we go with a cheaper punt run back like a Nico Collins or an Amendola or, even like a Chris Moore? I mean, I think Cooks is firmly in play here. And on the Miami side of things, we have Waddle, 5,600. We have Parker on IR, Fuller on IR. Waddle's going to get fed. He was getting fed with Tua anyway. Preston Williams, keep an eye, make sure he doesn't get sat for disciplinary reasons. I think that was the reason last week. Great kid. We saw what he did last year. Really, wish you'd get him on the field. Matt Collins, I think, is a very interesting large field GPP punt. I'm not interested really in Isaiah Ford, though he could be fine. Wilson punt. But I think the main ones for me are going to be Waddle and Gesicki with shots at Williams. So I think for me, it's going to be really condensed for me in terms of exposure. What about you?
Here's the other piece I love about this game. So we like to focus on teams that have a narrow path to targets, right? So we're always looking at like Minnesota and the LA Rams because you know where their targets are going to go through. Normally these teams are not like this, but with injury, I think the paths to who's going to catch the ball is very narrow this week. So Cooks, absolutely in play. Price tag a little high. Definitely has the potential.
Yeah, I think that this is a big Cooks game. Though, I guess the big question, is Xavier Howard back? I massively respect Howard.
I would agree with that.
Let me pull up an injury report. Keep talking about the other receivers. I'm going to pull up an injury report.
Sure, absolutely. Nico Collins is another one. And then I would almost argue, and like I said, I like Nico Collins just because of the potential there. But there's a slight argument that Amendola might be the number 2 receiver right now for that team.
Yeah, that says a lot.
That's getting very scarce, but I do think absolutely Cooks is in play. I think absolutely Collins is in play. If I'm going to the other side of the ball, as you said, you've got Waddle and Goecke are the 2 top dogs for me. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've got Parker Fuller out. Preston Williams, and now we're starting to get into mass entry, right? If I'm focusing on what I do, it's Waddle Goecke. If I'm going a little bit deeper, I think Preston Williams does have some play there if I'm entering and stacking this game.
Yeah. All right. So I have it up here on the screen. The Xavier Howard is not on the injury report. It's Jason McCourty is on IR. So Xavier Howard back in, probably going to shadow Cooks. That would be my expectation for this game. I still think Cooks is going to get peppered with targets, though. And I can easily see Amendola picking up a lot of short stuff in the middle. Probably going to be a fantastic value play this week. Anything else here you want to talk about from the wide receivers?
No, I think wide receivers are the play here outside of Gaskin and Goecke at tight end. I think it's quarterbacks and wide receivers in this game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, real quickly on tight ends, then we're going to get to a question here from YouTube chat. The only one I have interest in is Mike Gesicki and firmly in play at 4,900. Agreed?
I'm in the middle of a drink. Yes, Gesicki is the only one. Is the only one I'm taking in this game.
Yeah, I have no interest in Jordan Akins. You?
I just don't trust it.
I would agree. All right, well, let's get into it real quick. We have a question here in YouTube chat. Ben wants to know: pay up for Kamara? Yeah, excuse me. Ben wants to know: pay up for Kamara, or will Ingram take too many snaps away? Jeremy, I'll let you have a crack at this first. Alvin Kamara, $8,200, the most expensive running back this week.
So it's a no for me. I just don't trust it. It just hasn't been there for me this year. Again, it's not knowing what type of games that you're playing. It's a little bit hard to kind of answer that, but I am really kind of fading away from paying up for just about anything this week. I mean, at 8,200, if you're playing a cash game, you could probably work around that. If you're playing a tournament, you're going to get pretty tight at the bottom end of your lineup. And you're going to need to hit on some guys that I just don't think you need to this week. I really don't. I think you can drop down at running back. I think you can drop down at quarterback. I think receivers where we need to focus on this week, to be honest with you. And we wake up on Monday and Alvin Kamara broke the slate. Am I going to go, oh, I'm surprised? No. Kamara could break the slate. McCaffrey, Eckler, Cook, Jones, all of them could break the slate. But I don't want to pay for it because I haven't seen it enough this year to pay off. When I can go down and get a guy that's going to 4 to 5x me at $5,000 to $6,000.
I mean, I'd rather play Austin Eckler than Alvin Kamara this week, and I feel like that's ridiculous.
We are both on the same boat on that one.
Well, considering Philly's better against the running backs, they're terrible against wide receivers, and it's Atlanta. Though I think Atlanta this year has been pretty respectable of a defense. I say pretty respectable. I didn't say they were great or elite or good or anything, but I said they're respectable. So, like, if we just take a look real quick, we take a look here, Pro Football Reference, we take a look defense versus the running back position. You know, Jeremy, for years, the Atlanta Falcons are someone we've played pass-catching running backs against. And let's just find where are they? They have good against rushers. They have allowed 6 touchdowns, and they've been better this year against receiving running backs. Now, obviously, have they faced anyone like an Alvin Kamara? No. But like we take a look, like here's the Eagles. Okay. Apparently the Eagles have been pardon my language, freaking terrible against the running back. I'd rather play Eckler.
So
Kamara.
that would be my question back: is Kamara versus what? Like what's your other thought on that? But for me,
I don't think I mean like going back to Ben's question, I don't think I'm concerned about Ingram taking snaps away.
I agree with that. That's not my concern. I think Eckler will finish higher than Kamara this week.
I agree. So like I'm just going to tell you the projected ownership that I'm looking at right now. Again, this is projected ownership. I'm not going to say who it's from, but I am going to say that right now Kamara projected at 10.7% ownership, Eckler 22.6. Take that for what it is. I think Eckler is a better play. However, Kamara may have the higher ceiling, just because it's still Atlanta. I still don't think that defense is good. I think they're better. I don't think they're there yet. And I think Kamara, being as an elite running back as he is, Trevor Siemian may rely more on Kamara this week. Would you agree with that? In terms of like Siemian relying more on Kamara this week.
Yeah, yes, I could see that. Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, if you have questions, anyone, drop them in YouTube chat or in the Main Event DFS Discord. We're going to get into here to our next game. Before we do that, drop a like on this live stream. Leave a comment down below. Drop some questions in chat. I'm really happy to answer them for you. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell next to it as well. That way there, we will be able to, you guys will be able to know every single time a podcast or live stream drops or goes live. With that being said, again, get your questions in either here in the YouTube chat or get it in the Main Event DFS Discord. I'm looking at both. Jeremy, let's get into it. It's a game you and I really want to talk about. It's the Las Vegas Raiders at the New York Giants. Main news aside, I feel like we have to talk about it, unfortunately. And DraftKings, massive respect to you for actually making sure you removed him from the player pool. I guess, Jeremy, we can just briefly address it. Henry Ruggs, car accident. Look, it sucks. You never like seeing anyone go through things like this, and Derek Carr kind of said it the best. Got to show him love and everything right now. So again, it's a terrible tragedy. Ruggs is no longer with the Raiders. He's looking at multiple felony counts and he may end up in prison for a really, really long time. So we're here to address the fantasy aspect of this. And I've been avoiding doing this. I really didn't want to pick up any Raiders wide receivers on season long. It's just like one of those situations where it's just like real life sometimes, real life trumps fantasy. And it's a real life situation, and it sucks, and it's terrible. Our thoughts and prayers goes out to the family of the girl that tragically passed away because of that car accident. And Jeremy, we are here for the fantasy aspect of it, and we'll just touch on wide receiver before we get to any of the quarterbacks. The main wide receivers right now are going to be Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards. Backup wide receivers, we've seen Zay Jones most likely going to be the number 3 now. DJ Turner's there, Stoner, and Javon Wims, who I believe was on the Bears last year. And Dylan Stoner hasn't seen any action. Was signed with the practice squad on Thursday. Javon Wims on the practice squad, not active for this game. DJ Turner, no news available. So we're looking at Renfrow, Edwards, and Zay Jones in that order. Jeremy, before we get into any of the quarterbacks, let's talk about the wide receivers here. What do you think about the Raiders wide receiver situations for this week and moving forward?
Yeah, so I will just piggyback off of what you said. Listen, I'm definitely a beer drinker, but for everybody out there, just be safe, be smart.
Don't drink and drive.
Don't ever put yourself in that sort of situation. It's very unfortunate. You never want to judge a person by their worst moment or their best moment. But unfortunately, his worst moment's probably going to put him behind bars for a long time.
Yeah.
So, from our side of things, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that happens is, you got to look for ways in tragedy to better your situation, and so that's what we're going to do. Actually, Hunter Renfrow, to be honest with you, was probably in play with Ruggs in the lineup.
I agree.
He's been putting up some numbers, but Edwards now is firmly in play. I would say probably more pass entries than if you're doing 1 to 3 entries. I don't know if you want to go to Edwards on a 1 to 3 entry, but if you wanted to just grab a piece of this game, and you needed some salary saver. But from our standpoint, if you're going to stack the game, he is well in play on a comeback or on the Las Vegas side. So I think you got Renfrow, Edwards. I don't know if I would go outside of that. Obviously, Waller. Let's not.
Right. Again,
I know we're not going there yet, but
yeah. Well, let's loop
for
back.
Wide receivers, that's it.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
And again, echoing off Jeremy says, please drink responsibly. And if you need someone to pick you up, call someone, call an Uber, call a Lyft. Please, if you're intoxicated and really shouldn't be driving, then please don't drive. Safety first, always. Anyway, all right, enough real life stuff. I don't want to start sounding sober here. We're a fantasy football podcast. We're talking about this what I think is a pretty amazing game for fantasy. Derek Carr, 5,900. Daniel Jones, 5,600. Jeremy, this might be the week of the sub $6,000 quarterback. I love both these quarterbacks this week. I actually like Daniel Jones more than Derek Carr this week, though, for what it's worth.
I do, too. There's one quarterback I'm going to pay up for this week, and some stacks, and that's Carr and Jones. Got to be in your wheelhouse. They have to be.
Jeremy, at some point in this podcast, please do feel free to disagree with me.
So far, I cannot. Now, if you start pulling out some Patriots stuff, we're going to get in an argument. But
nope, fade. I'll tell you right now, fade. Patriots defense firmly in play.
This is definitely and you're right. It's Jones over Carr for me. I could see the argument for both, but we agreed before. As we talked about before, if you're going to look for an opportunity to get better than the field, pick some game stacks. This is one I don't think anybody's stacking, to be honest with you. I just don't.
Yep, and to quickly piggyback off that point, you and I had said this pre-show, and I think you and I or one of us said this pre-show, and both of us kind of looked at each other and were like, yep. I think this game breaks the slate. If we're looking at all these games, I think this game breaks the slate. If you were to tell me, come end of day on Sunday, Las Vegas wins 35-33, or the Giants win, 36-34, or 36-33. If you tell me both these teams score in the 30, I'll believe you. Wouldn't shock me.
No, it absolutely would not. There's one other game I think that could go up there. It's got to hit the right type of game script to do it, but I think this one could go over. I really do.
Mm-hmm. I may end up manually setting projections that I use and have to jack up all these players if I don't get enough exposure. Like this literally may be my stand of the weekend. Is this game. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to have pieces from the Chargers. I almost said the Clippers again. I'm going to get pieces from the Chargers, the Eagles, the Packers, the Chiefs, all of these high total games. But if there's a game I want to focus around, I think it's this game.
here's what I would say, and you just really knocked it out of the park with that. It's not that you won't have pieces from these different games. I mean, there might be some games you don't touch, right? Like New England, Carolina.
I was just going to say that.
But the fact of the matter is, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing single to 3 entry like I do, I'm only doing a couple of lineups. I'm still going to target games. Pick a couple of games and make a stand. Adam said, make a stand on a game. Just really, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to cash or are you trying to win? If you're trying to win, you need to make a stand where you think others aren't going to make a stand. And this right here, Las Vegas, New York Giants, stacking this game to a point where you're talking 4 to 5 players from this game, nobody's going to be doing that. So make a stand. See what you can do with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it real quick. We like these quarterbacks, both firmly in play. Really, nothing else we need to go super crazy here. I want to try keeping us to an hour this week. So really moving quickly at the rest of this game. Josh Jacobs, I think, is in a really good spot. However, the Giants this season have been much better against running backs than people I think would give them credit for. Where are they? They should be right around here somewhere. Did they just disappear? They just disappeared. Oh, there they are. Okay. Yep, they're back. They've only given up 5 rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs. They are giving up, I apologize, the 6th most rushing yards versus opposing quarterbacks. Sorry, versus opposing running backs. Okay, yeah, we're playing Josh Jacobs this week. I thought, again, this is what happens when you only use a 4-week sample size, Jeremy. They were good to start the season, but, Giants defense is right back there, so we'd be playing some Josh Jacobs this week. Would you agree?
I'm on both. And I might be partially biased because I have Booker in my season-long league, so I'm just going to take it because he's getting all the snaps.
Yeah, Raiders, mid-pack, and bottom 10, it looks like, or at least in the bottom half of the league, and receiving yards off as opposing running backs. The Giants, 6th most rushing yards allowed versus opposing running backs, and in the front half of the league in terms of most receiving yards allowed versus opposing running backs. So I think both of these running backs are firmly in play, and they're going to need Booker this week, Jeremy.
With Barkley out, I read somewhere, I don't think Booker's had less than 85% snap share. He's in there the entire time.
85% snap share at 5,900. Let's go.
He's in there all the time.
I will say this. If you don't want to play Jacobs, I think Kenyon Drake, large field GPP play only, but firmly in play.
Agreed.
Excellent. Well, let's keep this moving on. We talked about the wide receivers already. Let's talk about the tight ends. Darren Waller, Evan Ingram. Both firmly in play for me this week.
I backtrack 1 second. Kadarius Toney for New York Giants.
Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about the. We should probably do that, huh? That would probably be a really good idea.
Only guy I really care about, but I think Toney's
the one you're playing. Toney and Slayton.
Toney's coming back off of injury. They're scheming him passes.
Golladay is expected back though. So according to this latest play in this RotoWire, Golladay knee is trending towards playing in Sunday's game against the Raiders. If Golladay is back, give me more Toney. And I'll be playing Golladay and Slayton's kind of out of play. Or that's going to be nothing more than Golladay is going to get worked in like 30 to 40% of the snaps. And it's still going to be a Toney Slayton kind of week. What do you think?
I think your first statement is correct. I think if Galladay's back, my Toney percentage increases. My Slayton drastically decreases. But at the same time, get a feel for what is Galladay doing. Is he going to be on a 30 to 40% snap count? Then that doesn't really make a difference. But
We will know too. We should have that kind of indication before lock, because it's a 1 o'clock game.
absolutely, absolutely, you should get a feel for is he going to be playing full go? Is he going to be partially limited? I think Tony's a go either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think where you kind of start to keep an eye is if you're a Slayton guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, if Galladay is on a snap count, any kind of snap count, I think you can increase and play like 5 to 15% Slayton. If Galladay's out, you fire up a lot of Slayton, in my opinion. But let's put it this way. Even when Galladay was playing with Jones, he wasn't exactly being force-fed. Shepard has been Jones's guy. 10.4 DraftKings points, 6.8, 10.4, 20.6. He's not exactly breaking slates here. But at 5,200, we don't need him breaking slates. I would just rather Tony for the same price. I think Tony has a higher ceiling. So, I think we're good there. Anything else you want to talk about? Excuse me, with this game, Waller and Ingram firmly in play for me. Waller over Ingram for me.
Yeah, Waller all day. If you can force that in, take it, because this could be a big game for Waller. Really big game for Waller.
Yep, and I think Evan Ingram. I think Waller's about to have a big second half. I'm also telling myself that because I own him in my main season-long league. But I think Evan Ingram's also firmly in play. $3,800, I think, is a cheap tight end we're going to be targeting. Anything else in this game you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to try, like I said, we're going to try keeping this under an hour, and we're at about 42 minutes right now, or 42 and a half. Let's go into the big game of the weekend here. Let's talk about Minnesota, Baltimore real quick. Top level thoughts here, Jeremy. I think this game goes under. I think this game is slow. I think it's brutal. I do not think it goes over its 50 total. Baltimore favored by 6. What do you think about this game? Because I think this is a trap game in terms of the total. Like, get pieces from it. Like, I like Lamar Jackson at 73. I think Dalvin Cook at 77. He's going to be force-fed. But it's Baltimore's defense. I think Devontae Freeman is interesting, but not someone I really want to play. I don't want to play Jefferson against the Baltimore secondary. Thielen, maybe. They're expensive. I mean, Marquise Brown, 6,000. Watkins might be back. Bateman's injured. Like, this game, to me, just has trap written all over it.
I would agree. So there's a couple pieces I'm looking at, and here's where I'm at. And so if you want to go contrarian and you feel like field goes low on this game, maybe you want to go high. But I think people are going to overplay this game. Actually, as we talked about, we're hoping people go over on this game.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 0 for running back, 0 for quarterback. I'm not saying that they're not playable. I'm just saying I'm not going there. For receiver, I can't have there's got to be a lineup somewhere in my player pool with a Minnesota receiver. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's just so limited. That's all. There's like 3 people they're going to throw to the entire game from a wide receiver tight end perspective. So Jefferson, Thielen are there. Marquise Brown is there. And then at Conklin at tight end. And that's I'm done after that with this game.
Yeah. I think Marquise Brown's interesting. I'm staying away from Watkins. If Watkins back, unfortunately, I'm staying away from my boy Rashad Bateman. No Devin Duvernay. Mark Andrews is in play, but like, this game doesn't excite me. For a 50 total, this game is not exciting to me. I could see naked Lamar Jackson firmly in play here.
And I'll backtrack for 1 second. I do like Bateman just a touch in this game.
Even if Watkins is back?
Yeah, you probably want to watch the injury news on that one, but
yeah, yeah, for sure. Everyone, keep an eye to the injury news. Like if we just quickly, I'll just scroll up here. Where'd my mouse go? Baltimore. Baltimore's got a long list of injuries. Okay then. Baltimore, Latavius Murray did not practice Friday. He's doubtful for this week at Minnesota. Bateman, groin injury, questionable. Sammy Watkins, thigh injury, limited practice Friday, questionable. Again, you have limited practice with Watkins. Does it mean he gets there this week, or do they hold him out again this week and wait till next week? Keep an eye to the injury news. We are going to have updates on this game prior to lock. So anything else you want to talk about here with this game? I know we kind of went over it very quickly, but I just have no interest in this game whatsoever.
Now that I look at it, I don't disagree with the Lamar Jackson thing. They played 8 games, and he said 4 where he said at least 3x, and 2 where he's gone over 30, over 40. So I could see it. I could see that.
He's interesting. We'll put it that way. He's interesting this week.
Exactly.
All right. What do you say we get into? I mean, we already said fade New England, Carolina. I mean, if you want to take a shot at a Damian Harris, you want to take a shot at a Jacoby Myers, fine. I'm not playing Christian McCaffrey in the first game back against the New England rushing defense. No, thank you. I have really no interest in DJ Moore against, I don't care. The wide receiver core is a little depleted. Belichick is going to either scheme. He's probably going to try scheme McCaffrey out, but if not, he'll probably try scheming out Moore. I just have no interest in this game. Would you agree?
Zero interest.
All right.
Zero.
So I think a GPP game here I want to talk about real quick is Buffalo at Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over it real quick. Buffalo at Jacksonville. This game is currently sitting at a 48.5 over-under, with Buffalo favored by 14.5 points. I know, shocker. Buffalo is #good. Josh Allen firmly in play. I have no interest in anybody from Jacksonville in this game, but I have absolutely interest in everyone from Buffalo, including Tommy Sweeney. Would you agree?
Definitely Sweeney.
Yeah.
Knox is out, I believe, right?
Knox is still out.
Okay.
But like even Dan Arnold, he's worth a dart throw if you want to take a shot there. To be honest, I'd be surprised if Jacksonville puts up 14 points against this Buffalo defense.
To me, it's Josh Allen, partially because I have been season long, but also because
# bias.
Yes, but I do think he puts up QB1 number this week. I do think he hits 4x minimum. But he's not going to do that without taking a receiver along with him. So I think you got to look at, for me, everybody goes, oh, Diggs. No. Actually look at Sanders and Beasley.
Happy
bring-alongs.
Happy bounce back week for Sanders, who had 0 fantasy points last week and did not help my lineups at all. So happy I sat him in season long for I think it was Pittman and Hayes. Oh, by the way, I hope one of you out there won the $1 million last week. I called my shot. I said Michael Pittman last week is going to be the winning million to make a lineup. Michael Pittman, within the first quarter of that game, 2 touchdowns, 30 fantasy points, I think, at the end of that game. I have no idea if he was on the winning million maker lineup, but I hope you all played lots of Michael Pittman last week.
It's very funny. I introduced my son last week to DraftKings because
Michael Pittman?
No, well, to DraftKings. And I said pick your lineups, and he picked Derrick Henry, and I said, well, you need to bring back. I said it should be Michael. It should be Pittman. That's who you need to bring back. And he chose somebody else, and he did something else. So I said, all right, screw it. I'm taking Pittman. And
You won.
yeah, like I said, I stacked that game and won fairly significantly.
I like it.
And yes, I shoved it in my 11-year-old son's face that he should have taken Pittman when he didn't.
He's a loving father, ladies and gentlemen. He's not out there trying to, be like worst father of the year. Don't send him hate mail. But hey, friendly family competition is friendly family competition. So anyway, I think Zach Moss is someone that's really interesting this week, 5,300. But this game is basically summed up as everyone from Buffalo's in play. I have no interest in anyone from Jacksonville. Anything else we should talk about from this game?
I think you hit it.
Yep. Just keep in mind the Bills' defense as we get into our defense segment. Bills' defense is $4,000. And Jeremy, let's start off there with our defense segment. The Bills this week. And I apologize if I'm talking a little softly. Some of the family is trying to sleep. So I got to try keeping it a little quieter. So, Patriots defense, $4,100. I told you they're firmly in play. Bills, $4,000, firmly in play. I like both of them. Oddly enough, I think the 49ers defense at $2,800 I think is really interesting if Kyler sits. I think the Giants defense is interesting if you're playing that way. I think the Chiefs might be chalk at 2,300 with, that was probably baked in for Rodgers. At home against Jordan Love. 2,300, I think Chiefs going to be chalk defense of the week. I have no interest. I mean, you can play the Carolina defense at 26. They're fine. Baltimore, I think, is firmly in play. And Dallas is in play. Any other defenses for you, Jeremy? What defenses do you like this week?
I think you might have hit on all of them. Kansas City, Carolina, Buffalo, New England. Probably in that order. Like we said, Kansas City's probably going to be chalk. I mean, if you really want to call it defense chalk, but that's probably the four I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Jeremy. Well, let's get into our final segment here, real quick. Core, value, GPP, and favorite stack segment. I know you and I have been busy all week, and we haven't really had a chance to do much in terms of like in-depth research for the people. But do you have a core play for the people this week?
I'm going to be honest with you. So, well, let's put it this way. My game is Houston, Miami. That's what I'm on. Like I said,
So it's more a core game for you than it is a core play.
Well, a little bit. There's a few additions to that. So,
I was told there'd be no math.
Sorry, we're going to get into some real hard math here.
I'm only kidding. I do hear 2 + 2 does equal fish, though.
Yes, exactly. So that's, I really, for me, I like not only the quarterbacks, I like the receivers. The other game that I'm looking at would be Dallas-Denver. Again,
yes.
Quarterback, receivers.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but I can see that either hitting the over. I just don't have a good gut feeling on that game as of right now. But that's definitely what I'm going to be looking into tomorrow morning for sure.
Yes, I really like Amari and Jerry Jeudy as receivers in that game.
Yep.
But,
yep.
Those would be, and then like I said, I just mentioned this, but I have him season long, and I think he's gonna just put up a great number this week. Is Josh Allen with Buffalo? I mean, he can't get around it.
Yep. Core for me this week, Buffalo. I know, shocker. I'm probably gonna have a lot of Buffalo, but value plays. I think we hit on one earlier with one Mr. Danny Amendola. Are there any value plays you like this week?
Um,
Tyrod? Tua?
that's the thing about, and I hate to keep going back to this game, but
Please
I
go
think
back to this game. Please continue to hammer your point home because I'm also on this game this week.
I just think everybody's is low priced for the defense that they're going to face. Now, listen, these offenses are terrible. So let's not pretend like this game can't fail, because it absolutely can. These defenses are just horrid. I mean, absolutely horrid. And so, no, I just think in this game, I think everybody's underpriced. I think everybody that we've talked about from this Houston and Miami game can just completely go off.
Yep. Cool. So, is there any other plays that you're interested in? We'll just skip the entire core value, GPP, and favorite stack. Let's just talk about just favorite plays, favorite games, and stuff like that. So, is there anything else you want to talk about that we have or haven't talked about yet that you want to hammer home to the people? Group them all in all 4 categories.
I'll throw it out there. So, we didn't talk about Cleveland, Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everybody's got the news of OBJ being gone. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones benefits from that. Is it this week? I don't know. As I told Adam pre-show, I think Peoples-Jones finishes the year, the second half of the year, as a top 10 wide receiver.
It's a bold call, sir.
Oh, that's what I'm about.
Excellent.
From Cleveland, so it's a little bit of a homer call.
You keep talking to the people. I'm gonna go be adding Donovan Peoples-Jones into my lineup. So keep talking to the people as I go add Donovan Peoples-Jones in all my season-long leagues.
Sounds good. Well, so we talked about everybody's gonna keep backing away, little by little, from Kansas City. Still an elite offense, or we think so. I don't think we can say that they're not yet. And Mecole Hardman is pretty much wide receiver number 2, right? So I think that's another play that's out there for one of the better offenses out there. I'm sorry. And look at Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
Check the injury news on Debo and Kittle. They both may be out. And then let's flip it over to Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk. Arizona, I know we're talking about possibly we got a backup quarterback, but you're also talking about Hopkins possibly being out, and AJ Green is out, if I'm not mistaken.
We can check that for you real quick. So over here to Arizona, there. San Francisco. So that was the other big injury news. Kittle is back from IR. He's playing against the Cardinals. AJ Green is out. He's on the COVID-19 list. Deebo Samuel, questionable. DeAndre Hopkins, questionable. Running back Elijah Mitchell, questionable. Kyler Murray, questionable. I think from a main slate standpoint, this is a fade game for me. What do you think?
I think you have to. Here's what I hope in this game. I hope the news goes up to game time. And I'm going to set myself up for a lot of Ayuk, a lot of for San Francisco. And then when we're talking about the Cardinals, I'm going to look at
Ayuk is $4,100. Keep that in mind.
Yes, exactly. But
I was telling the people to keep that in mind. Right, I always tell the people to keep that in mind. I'm not playing Kittle. I appreciate Kittle. I respect Kittle. Arizona has been lights out against opposing tight ends.
No, and I'm not. I wouldn't play Kittle either. I'm just him back might take a little away, but if Debo's out, I hope that news comes late. Is all I'm saying.
Right.
Because if it comes late, people are most of the people we're going to play against don't like questionable tags, right? So get Ayuk, and if you have to shift. And then from the other side, listen, if there's no AJ Green, if Hopkins is out. Who are we throwing to?
Kirk. Moore.
We're throwing to Kirk and Rondale Moore. So probably Rondale Moore, more so for me. But
yeah, that makes
Kirk
sense.
Play.
Kirk's just been a beast. He's been really good, and no one's realized it. Christian Kirk. Let's just very quickly go over it here. The last 4 weeks, weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8, in order: 10 fantasy points, 18.5, 15, 8.6. 5 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets, and that's with all the wide receivers in play. You imagine what that workload's going to look like for Christian Kirk if Hopkins is out. Crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything?
Well, the other
Go ahead.
Key to that, though, Kyler Murray. So if he's out, that changes things as well. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that entire thing.
Oh, if Kyler's out, that changes everything. Because then it's Colt McCoy. And Colt McCoy, in the past, has been, he has been steady. Hasn't been super great, but he's been steady. So, just keep that in mind. Anything else you want to talk about here?
I think the only other thing that we haven't mentioned yet, and it's a game we haven't even talked about, is Sharp and Gage in Atlanta. Tajay Sharp, probably wide receiver 1. Gage slot, maybe. So, possibility, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley out. You have Russell Gage in the slot. Tajay Sharp, and then how much is Patterson? 6,300. Yikes.
I feel like Patterson gets some ownership.
Yikes. And best wishes to Calvin Ridley as well. Absolutely, kudos to him for saying mental health is more important. Good for you, sir. Good for you. I hope you get back soon. Outstanding player and everything like that. All right. Anything else, kind sir? Because I think we have beat around the bush on the one game, and I'll bring it up in my segment here. But is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm set. I think I touched on everything I needed to.
Excellent. All right. Again, core for me this week's more of Buffalo. Value, we've talked about a lot of value already. We've talked about guys like Peoples-Jones. We talked about Danny Amendola. We talked, Brian Edwards. We've talked about Mecole Hardman. Guys like Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Devonta Freeman, Tony Pollard is interesting. Tight ends, Evan Ingram is a very interesting value play. GPP plays every single freaking game. Every single game is a GPP play. This is a GPP slate, in my opinion. Cash could build itself, but I think this is a phenomenal GPP slate. And as, Jeremy and I have said earlier in this podcast, take chances, try game stacks this week, maybe lean more towards game stacks than team stacks. See if a game just happens to break the slate, you're going to be sitting pretty if you have that game as a stack and you have the right pieces. I don't exactly have a favorite stack at the moment. You're more than welcome to tag me in the Main Event DFS Discord at AdamWX21 or reach out to me on Twitter at AdamWX21 if you're interested in my thoughts on a stack. But the one game I want to talk about we really haven't touched on is the big game of the week, Green Bay at Kansas City. Jordan Love, $4,400. I think both sides of this game are fine. I just think this is more of a trap game. Why do I think it's more of a trap game, you say? because Jordan Love's on the Green Bay side. Green Bay's defense is good. Kansas City, you're a one-trick pony. I've been saying this for weeks. It's Mahomes. It's Hill. It's Travis Kelce. Now, Daryl Williams, 5,700. Green Bay's a funnel defense. I think Daryl Williams is really interesting this week. Be very careful for Derek Gore. He started to get more involved last week. So he's interesting at 4,000, but I wouldn't go overboard with him. But I think he might be involved on the goal line. I'll have exposure to this game, but I don't think it's. I mean, you can game set this if you want. I think it's an interesting spot that right now I don't know what to do with that game yet. I'm probably going to play it. I'm not going to fade it. I don't know if I consider it a quarter build around. So with that being said, Jeremy, do you have any final thoughts on this slate?
No, just to touch on what you said, I think we've pointed out about, I don't know, 4 quarterbacks within 1,500 to 2,000 of what you just named Jordan Love. So if you're calling Jordan Love the salary saver, I think we have some other guys that are a little bit more
higher ceiling,
established.
Yeah, established, higher ceiling in our opinion, at least my opinion.
Yeah, and getting us those numbers. Yeah, I get it. Jordan Love needs, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns? Great. Well, Tyrod Taylor needs 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's also going to get you 50 yards rushing and maybe another touchdown. I mean, so think about it. If you're salary saving, you really need to go down there to the unknown, or can you spend $1,000 more, or what is it? It's not even that. It's $600 more for Tyrod Taylor, and you at least know a little bit more about him and what he's going to do. And so that's kind of where my mindset is on that. I think you can go cheap on quarterback. I absolutely do. We give you 4 options at least of salary saver quarterbacks that I think can get it done this week at a 4 to 5x. I don't think you have to go to Jordan Love to do it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I have nothing else to talk about here on the slate. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here for this Week 9 preview live stream. Catch us again for Week 10 for our Week 10 preview podcast next Friday night.